We do indeed appreciate the sacrifice that you make to help little towns in emergencies. Thank you. We have an electronic meeting notice that I have to read. This notice is in accordance with the Utah Code Section 52-4-207, 4 and 5, the Open and Public Meetings Act requirement to put in writing a determination to hold a public meeting without an anchor location. The anchor location for drinking water board meetings, the multi-agency state office building at 195 North, 1950 West, is within the boundaries of Salt Lake City. At this time of COVID-19 pandemic response, Salt Lake County currently has a high level of transmission. As the chair of the Drinking Water Board, I, Roger Friedel, have deemed it necessary to hold the January 21st, 2021 meeting of the board electronically and without an anchor location, as an anchor location represents a substantial risk to the health and safety to those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination expires on February 14th, 2021. Roll call. Who's doing the roll call? Allison? Ying Ying?
I'm happy to do the roll call.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'll start with Barbara. Barbara Gardner. Barbara? No. Blake Tullis?
Present.
Thank you, Blake. David Pitcher?
Here.
Thank you, Dave. Eric Franson?
Here.
Thank you, Eric. Jeffrey Combs? Jeff, are you here? Okay, Jeff is not here. Next, Christy Bell.
Here.
Thank you, Christy. Roger Friedel?
Here.
Thank you, Roger. Scott Morrison?
Here.
All right. So do we have a quorum today?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Disclosure of intent to publicly comment. If anybody would like to comment, they can announce it now. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest? Hearing none. The Financial Assistance Committee report, SRF applications. The Hatchtown, Heather.
Thank you, Roger. So we just have one project on this emergency meeting. It's going to be funded through the state funding. It is for Hatchtown. They are requesting financial assistance in the amount of $48,000. Their project includes replacement of the pump and the motor for well number 5, which has failed. This leaves the town with a single source, making this requested emergency as the health and safety of their users are at risk. The local MAGI for Hatchtown is 53% of the state MAGI. And this project at full loan would make their water bill $51.17, which is 2.43% of the local MAGI. So they do qualify for additional subsidy. So the staff recommendation is that the Drinking Water Board authorize a grant of $48,000 to Hatchtown, with conditions to include that they resolve any issues on their compliance report. They do have a few small ones having to do with cross-connection control, and I can have our cross-connection control people reach out to them. So are there any questions on Hatchtown or comments? We do have several people here from Hatchtown if they would like to speak. We have JC Torgerson, and then there's a few people I don't recognize that may be from the town as well.
Kurt Sawyer from the city council member.
Do you have any comments for us?
Yeah, we actually received a bid on this project, and it's about $22,000, so we won't need the full 48,000.
Could somebody from Hatch provide a background on the failure? Was it just from runtime, or in other words, old age, or was there an unforeseen event that caused it?
I'm David Barnhurst. I'm the water operator for Hatch. The well is about 11 years old, and it was just the age that made it fail. They pulled the pump in the well last week, and our pipe was all still good, is why the cost is less than half of what the first bid was. That we were able to keep the old pipe and put it back in. So it was just the age that caused the failure.
Just sharing my thoughts with the board. The board can discuss, together. In general, I'm not a big fan of full grant on situations where, preventative maintenance may have caught this. I think we ought to advocate for water systems to have some savings to be able to deal with maintenance events like this. So I would be more in favor of a hybrid approach, basically half grant, half loan. Given the small size of this loan, that may not make sense from an administrative perspective, but I just wanted to share my general thoughts on that.
Thank you, Scott. Any other comments?
This is Dave Pitcher. I have a question. Is this the sole source for the entire water system?
We have two sources. One is this one, and it's fairly new. The other one is well 4, and it is only about half the size. We usually switch back and forth from one source to the other every other month. And so if our well 4 were to go down, we would have no water for town for fire prevention or for culinary use.
Any further discussion, questions?
Yeah, this is Eric. I would like Michael to maybe address that comment about, because of the size of the grant / loan, and administratively, what does that look like? And I'm going to concur with the statements that were made earlier, and also, I guess, ask about the administrative side of the loan and grant.
So yeah, thank you, Eric. Scott made a very, very correct statement in that when we deal with financial assistance of this amount, a loan is administratively more costly for us as staff, as well as for the city. Being a municipality, Hatch would have to bond for this money. And even though it's $22,000, $30,000, $40,000, bonding costs can run anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to prepare that bond through the attorneys. So from a strictly financial standpoint, it doesn't make financial sense or administrative sense to bond for the $40,000, let alone bond for an $11,000 bond and $11,000 grant from a financial standpoint. I agree, though, with Scott that it is always preferable for water systems to have a capital facilities replacement fund, a depreciation fund, something that they are depositing money to on a regular basis, so that when things like this happen, they have the wherewithal in-house to resolve these issues without coming and asking for financial assistance. As part of these funding packages, we do ask on a grant, we ask if it's a loan, then it's a stipulation of the loan that the water system implement a capital facilities reserve account and show that they are depositing money to that account on a regular basis. With grant money, that's not necessarily a stipulation, but we do always encourage it. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question that isn't necessarily related to what, the loan or the grant, but maybe for Eric or Dave or Scott, who are involved with designing and or managing water systems. A 12-year-old pump that operates half the time, so essentially a 6-year-old pump in service life, does that seem like a short service life for a water supply pump?
This is Eric. Yes, that is on the short end. We usually will assume a 20-year life on most pump components when we do our design and preliminary work. So yes, that is shorter than normal, but there are circumstances that come into play, and without knowing all the details, it's not out of the realm, but it is shorter than normal. Yes.
From our experience, whenever you have rotating equipment, we just call it rotating equipment, anywhere from 5 to 20 years is what you're going to experience. And nowadays you're going to have electronic parts and things like that have probably only a 5-year life. And so what I'm concerned about in this application is precedence. I'd be curious to find out from staff. I haven't been on the board long enough to know if this is something that we're setting a precedent. I mean, if I calculate 22,000 divided by a number of connections, that's about $189 per connection. I'm not surprised if some people pay that much from their cell phone bill each month. And this is for a water system for a whole community. And I'm not trying to be critical, and I recognize the situation that they may be in, but capacity development is important for small communities and large communities.
That's a great point, Dave. Thank you. Yes, this is not precedent setting. The board has authorized similar financial assistance to water systems in the past. Mainly the smaller systems, it's fewer than 100 or so connections, or populations of 500 to 1,000. I can recall 3 other times where the board has authorized funding for this type of project.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
If I may.
Yes, please.
Last night, we realized that we actually need to build up a reserve. So we actually upped our fees last night for residential and commercial so that we could actually start building up a good reserve for us because of what you're saying. So we actually did take action to do that. But
Thank you, Kurt.
20.
And Kurt, one last question, I guess, for me. You mentioned you received a bid recently. Do you have the total bid amount available? Or, I think what we want to do, well, if the board decides to go with a full grant in this case, I think it makes sense that the board only grant up to the amount of money that's needed to make this repair. So I think that bid amount is relevant. If you don't have that amount available and the board does move forward with this, I would recommend that the motion stipulate that the grant only go up to that bid amount.
The bid amount was 48,000, but they've been here and done the work, pulled the pump and replaced it. And so the bill itself will be just under 22,000.
It's $21,951 to be exact.
Any further discussion or comments? Would someone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion. I motion that the Drinking Water Board authorize a grant of the cost of the repair to Hatch City, and conditions include that they resolve all issues on their compliance report.
Motion made by Blake.
This is Christy. I'll second that one.
Christie, thank you for the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any public that would like to comment? Any open board discussion that we need to be talking about? How about our,
This
Yeah.
is Dave. This is Dave Pitcher. I still remain really concerned about precedent. If we have each somehow, small systems or large systems need to get the message that we need to be looking at having a sustainable water system. Without a water system, no community can go forward with economic or life. So that's just a statement that I'd have. And I recognize that there's some very hardworking people that keep the water flowing. So I think residents need to understand that it takes money to have a sustainable system.
takes a lot of money.
I agree with you, Dave. I think, you know, in general, that I don't think that the state revolving funds should be used for maintenance activities like this. But there are circumstances where we see these requests, I guess.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I guess I'll add one more too. I agree with all those statements, and I appreciate, Kurt, what you said, that you guys are implementing some kind of a capital replacement fund or something. But it would seem to make sense to me, Michael, maybe to note in the file for Hatch City that this conversation has been had. And if there were another emergency that arose in the next 10 years, I think it'd be a relevant point to come back to this conversation and say, what has come of and not to target Hatch City specifically, but all these kinds of situations that would come back around to say, hey, they had taken some responsibility. So how did that pan out? And if they come back asking for full funds, then apparently that didn't happen. And that might be something to consider in the decision in the next time.
Thank you. Yes, we actually do track when we give loans, when the board authorizes loan, it is tracked, and we do receive annual financial statements from all of our loan recipients in which they show or don't show that they are actually putting the money that's been required into the capital facilities replacement fund. And if they are not, then we take action to encourage them to do so. And if they continue to not, then we actually as a board, you can take action to place them in default and require that the money be repaid immediately.
Now,
That's the
case, though,
teeth
right?
that we have. Pardon?
For the grant situation that this is, though, you said.
Right. We'll need to do that specifically for the grant situation. Yes. So that's a great suggestion. We will do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Chair, if I may make a comment.
Rob, yes?
Yes, sir. My name's Rob Allen. I represent a small cabin community up in Oak Haven. It's up in Midway. 10 years ago, we didn't have any kind of formal system in place, and we got in arrears with Division of Drinking Water to the tune of about $500,000. We've since straightened everything out, got our IPS report down to 0 or virtually 0. And I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you guys are here and that this is an option for us small systems. For us up there, we put a lot of money and effort and time to get ourselves straightened out. But if we had an emergency, then it's nice to know that this may be an option for us. And so I just appreciate the job you guys are doing and being willing to entertain these motions.
Thank you, Rob. Further comments?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Roger. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
Dave.
Can this capacity development, is it brought up as part of sanitary survey? So do they ask if there's replacement reserves being acted on? Is it something that we can see? What I see is if you're always trying to react to something, that someone's coming in for a loan or something, that's almost too late. We need to get ahead of it, kind of. Or one, that's probably something for discussion in another forum, but
If you would like, Dave, I can add that to the work meeting that we're having or that we're going to schedule for sometime in February, because that actually plays into part of the discussion for the capacity development program and asset management rule that we need to rewrite this year. So that is definitely something that the board can take up and make recommendations for staff to follow as far as the capacity development program and how to better implement that program for all of our systems statewide.
that sounds good.
I will do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Dave. Anyone
Well,
else? Yes.
Hi, this is Ying Ying. I just want to check with the board members. Have you received an email from me regarding the Rural Water Conference coordination?
Yes.
Okay. Just, this year's Rural Water Conference attendance is going to be very unique. And so if you have any questions, please reach out to Allison. And we want to support the board members to participate in the rural conference, regardless whether you choose to attend in person or virtually. The division will support the board members to attend. And we're going to try our best to provide technical assistance to the water systems that attend the Rural Water Conference virtually. We will have a skeleton crew going down to rural water, attended in person, and we'll try to set up workstations so the water systems can just sit in front of the workstation and have a virtual meeting with our staff in Salt Lake City. Because we do what we can to support rural water and the water system. And the second announcement I want to mention is right before this meeting, I sent an email. I forwarded the email to you regarding the new division director. And Tim Davis has accepted the job offer made by DEQ. So officially, we will have a new director on February 8th. And since I'm the interim director and I promised that I will stay on just to help during the transition. So my last week with the Division of Drinking Water, second time around, will be sometime in the week of February 8th. Okay. So just want to, let everybody know that this might be the last board meeting that you guys will see me. And next time you'll see Tim Davis. Okay, and I'm very happy, and I participated in the interview with Tim, and I was very impressed. Tim is an administrator for the state of Montana. He oversees Montana's drinking water and wastewater program. So I feel like, wow, we really, you know, did a good job in this recruitment. So I'm pretty sure team will be a, you know, a tremendous help for the Division of Drinking Water.
Thank you, Ying, and thank you for your service and coming up when you're needed. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Anything else? Our next board meeting, whether it be in person or online, will be Thursday, March 4th, 2021 at 9 a.m. We need one more motion.
I motion that we adjourn.
Blake,
I'll second that.
second by Scott. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk